Let's move on to this developing story as well. Transnet workers are currently on strike following the signing of the picketing rules. Some of the rules include picketing in demarcated areas. Participation is also voluntary and no one may be forced to take part in the picket. The employer has also tabled a revised wage offer, but it seems unions are not happy. Nkoketse, Sepogwane, South African Transport and Allied Workers Union Deputy President, joins us live now. Thank you so much for your time, sir. You've rejected the latest wage offer. Why?
Okay, good afternoon, Bongi, to you and your viewers. Look, we have rejected the offer on the basis that it does not cover the inflation rate that the country is facing of about 7.9, and workers are obviously living below the wage line, and that's why the offer does not speak to us. But we must also appreciate Bongi, the intervention of the CCMA, because it has gotten some traction in the negotiations and dealt with a lot of hostilities that we have had. And we are hopeful that tomorrow when we go back, the employer will probably come to their senses and offer us something much better. But we have consulted our members, and our members are saying the current offer is a no-go.
You talk about hostilities. Are you suggesting that the talks were not done in good faith?
No, initially they were not done in good faith, the employer was just showing a level of arrogance and disregard for whatever we were saying, and an element of also bullying us as negotiators. And that's why we had to stand our ground and tell our workers. But with the intervention of the CCMA, the 3 commissioners from the CCMA for the Section 150 conciliation, we have seen some traction from the employer, because there's a neutral body, obviously, doing this thing that has the country's interests at heart. And it's focusing on breaking the impulse between us and the employer.
Talking about
I must also put on the table.
Okay, continue a little bit.
I must put on the table, Bongi, that the reason why we're so skeptical about what the employer is saying is because of the following. Look, Bongi, in 2021, the headcount of Transnet employees was reduced from 49,604 through a VSP process. That was very expensive. It pushed the personnel cost from 51% to 58%, which we cautioned management against when they were implementing. So the headcount moved from 49,000 to 46, which was supposed to be a saving if you don't go into a VSP process, which is very expensive. But they've even further gone to re-advertising the very same positions that they said they're getting rid of them to reduce costs. They are re-advertising them and hiring people in the very same positions. And we feel that 15% of those employees are actually packet work rehired after they were fired with a very good handshake through the VSP process. But also next to that, Bongi, the executive salaries of Transnet, we just want to highlight that. The Group CE last year took home 8.5 million. The Transnet Freight Rail CE took home 6.1 million. The MPACE took home 5.9 million. The Group CFO took home 5.9 million. The Group Chief Legal took home 5.4. And the lowest paid employee in Transnet, Ebongi, is earning 134, a mere measly 134,350 rands. So compare the lowest paid employee and the highest paid. The lowest is at 1.34, 134,000, and the highest is at 8.5 million. I mean, there you are seeing the gap that resembles a very bad picture.
All right.
Already.
And we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to ask you about something. I mean, talking about that, Transnet is saying that, in their statements, they're expressing concern about the strike, and they're saying that, this mass industrial action, could have devastating long-term consequences, for your colleagues as well as their families and the South African economy as a whole. How do you respond?
That's a hypocritical statement that the employer is making, Ebongi, on the basis that the employer started negotiating very late. We're supposed to start negotiating early in the year, around January, to agree on an agreement in April, because the previous agreement of 5% expired in April. So instead of starting these negotiations, then we started around June, July. Already we are late. Even if we were to agree, the employer will be liable for a back pay, and they also dragged on the wage negotiation, even to an extent asked for a cooling period. So it is one of those things that we're saying is hypocritical for the employer to say what they are saying on the basis that we could have averted a strike. We could have started the negotiations at the tempo that the CCMA is conciliating the wage negotiations to be, which are traction. I mean, the CCMA came in when the employer was sitting at 3%. They have currently offered a mix of 4.5 to 5% for the lowest employees, which is traction, which is the traction that we have expected. So we have tried by all means, Bongi. We keep on saying this when we're on your platform. We have tried by all means to avoid a strike through writing to the Minister of Public Enterprise and writing to the President. And we are happy that Comrade Thulas Nxesi has actually come down to get his hands dirty to try and resolve this impasse. Because we also don't want the impact to the economy that the strike is having, because we're a responsible trade union. We wanted to avoid the strike at all costs.
And Nkoketse, one of the things that, of course, we've seen has been what has come out of, what happened at Transnet through the Zondo Commission's report. How much of that has made your members resolute that they want what they are demanding right now?
Bongi, like I said, these salaries of managers that I'm talking about, they took them last year, even after the Zondo Commission. Why is it that when it comes to junior officials, there's a lot of nitty-gritties that are put in between for junior officials not to receive their salaries and their increases? Whereas the Transnet executives who are currently representing the employee are taking away 8.5 million, 6.4, between 8.5 million and 5.4 million, just in a group of people. And again, we must also say, Bongi, the employer says they've got an intention to give the very same people that are getting 8.5 million, a 3% increase. Now, what is 3% of 8.5 million per annum? What is 3% of 6.1 million per annum?
So,
what is 3% of 5.9? It's substantial amounts that are still going to management and not going to junior officials. And that is why we're saying the employer is negotiating in bad faith. Because the employer has got money. We are saying the employer must cancel the 3% at the management level and reduce that percent to the junior officials and at least push the percentage to around above inflation, at least. And that we have done some calculations, although because we've got limited time, we cannot divulge how far the communication calculations have gone.
We'll speak again, of course, on this, but in 10 seconds, we're out of time. I'm already in trouble. Some of the rules that you've signed on today say no one should be intimidated. They must take part on the strike on a voluntary basis. Of course, placards cannot be offensive. At the same time, there's demarcated spots for, picketing. How are you going to ensure that these rules are adhered to, particularly the issue of intimidation?
Look, Bongi, we've got marshals, we've got strike conveners, and SATAWU is a union with structures. We've got provincial structures, we've got local structures, and we've got what we call a workplace shop steward, committees. So these are the committees that are going to be dealing with the management of the strike itself, reporting to us, of course, at 1170 Quarter Street, which is the head office of the trade union. So we've got marshals at the striking areas. And we must also say that the picketing rules fall short when it comes to some of the depots that are listed there, because Transnet has got around 1,235 depots, and we've only managed to agree on 65 areas, between 65 and 75 areas. So on the others, we're expecting our employees to comply to the rules. Marshals must guard the strike committees from both the trade unions must monitor that people behave within the prescripts of the picketing rules. But we've got responsible members that are going to be very responsible during this strike, because we would not want our employees to misbehave during the strike or do anything that is outside the agreed rules.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Nkoketse. We'll speak again, I'm sure, as the strike continues. That's Nkoketse Sepogwane, the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union's Deputy President. We'll stay with the story on the other side of this and look at the labor issues around this.